Home is where connections are made, memories are formed, and ideas are born. And no one knows home better than NFM. Thanks for tuning in to I Am Home, the podcast that goes deeper than trends and dives into what it means to make your house a home.
Well, hello, and welcome to I Am Home, the All Things Home podcast. I'm Tyler Weiskup. Unfortunately, we don't have Hillary with us today, but I'm joined by my co-host, who's Sauce's boss. It's Becca Sudbeck.
Hi, Tyler.
Hi, Becca. And I'm also joined by a special guest co-host today. She's a fan favorite and NFM's patio buyer. It's Janet Lura.
Hi, Tyler.
Hi, Janet.
Hi,
Thanks
Becca.
so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me again.
Of course. It's always great when you're here. And this month, we're talking all things hot. It's been our running series for the whole month long. We're bringing you home design tips and tricks to stay cool while enjoying the summer heat. And today's episode is literally smoking hot because we've got a blast from the past guest. He was with us in the first year of the podcast.
2020, probably.
Yeah. From Traeger Grills. We're so excited to talk to him. But before we do that, let me tell you why we're even doing this podcast. And that's because NFM is more than just your everything home store. We're in the business of improving lifestyles because your home life should be your best life. You can learn more at nfm.com. And without further ado, let me bring on our blast from the past guest. It's the pit boss himself. It's Chad Ward.
Hey, how are you guys?
Hi, Chad. We're doing good. We're so happy to have you here again. Like you said, it's been years, and I know that we reached out recently to try to get you back on to kind of revisit some topics that we talked about before, as well as kind of talk a little bit about what's new with Traeger, all the different things that's been happening, as well as what's new with you with your life. I think you're just a very interesting person. The last time that we got to talk about your long barbecue history, all those kind of things, we were just floored by the amount of knowledge and skill that you brought to, and the passion that you brought to everything that you were talking about. So again, I'm so excited to talk to you. Let me introduce you really quick, Chad, so that the audience knows who we're talking about here. And if any of these numbers have changed, feel free to pipe in and let me know, because I feel like you are a 7-time barbecue grand champion, an entrepreneur, a brand ambassador with nationwide TV appearances on the Food Network, NBC, the Travel Channel, and many more. Your team, Whiskey Bent BBQ, has competed in over 105 contests across 22 states, more than 200 top 10 overall category finishes. Again, feel free to pipe in if you padded the resume since the last time I pulled this together.
You're all over it.
Yeah, but it's so impressive again, and just the pedigree that you bring to the podcast is sorely needed and very, very much appreciated. So thanks for being here.
My pleasure, guys. Thank you.
I do want to jump in because we have a lot to talk about, especially since it's been a while since we last visited. So first off, I want to congratulate you and Whiskey Bent BBQ on 10 plus years. I think you're heading into your 11th year now. The store location actually moved. I think you went on to bigger and better. You've also hugely expanded your entrepreneurial activities. You've got an apparel line. You've got I think a whiskey label, and you're coming for our jobs on the podcast too. You've got your own latest venture, the Old Boy podcast.
Yeah.
So I wonder if you can talk to me about how you find the time to do all this stuff.
Yeah, no, it's been awesome, and thank you for the awesome intro. Starting with the store first, excuse me. Starting with the store first, when you go back and look, we started that in September will be 11 years ago, and we started at 900 square feet. So it was funny when I was doing some of the media leading up to the grand opening of the new place. The new place is 16,400 square feet, and so one of the reporters kept saying 16,000 at the end. I was like, hey man, that 400 matters because we only started with 900. So don't leave it out on me. But but no, we, as we grew, when we got to the store, it was literally just a store. And we didn't know we were going to have all these opportunities to do a seasoning line and start doing distribution for other small brands and things like that through another company of ours. And, and then the funny thing about it is my business partner in that is actually my ex-wife. So we were not really great husband and wife, but best friends afterwards. And this was kind of our child. We didn't have kids, but we had the store together and we grew it together. And I knew if I was going to keep on traveling and spreading the word that I needed someone back home to really take care of things. And Nicole did that. She did it while juggling a firefighter job and 2 kids and being married. And then we were finally fortunate enough about 2 years ago for her to be able to leave the fire department and do this full time. And when she did that, we started realizing a lot of her time was being spent running to a co-packer 2 hours away, or going and doing this, or going and doing that. It's like, you know what? We need to bring everything under one roof so we can have, and for me, it makes life simple too. You know, I'm on the road 200 plus days. So having one place when you are home that you can go to and kind of all your enterprises are there and you can handle it. And I got to give credit to Malcolm Reed. When I saw what Malcolm had built out in Memphis, or out in Mississippi, when I went to his grand opening a couple of years ago, I really loved it because that was kind of his theory. He's like, man, I wanted one place, much deeper Southern draw for Malcolm. But he's like, man, I wanted a place where I could, just go and take care of everything at once. You know, I could do my podcast, I could do this, I could do that, I could shoot my YouTubes. And we kind of built that, based off that inspiration. So we have the store there. It's about 4,000 square feet. And we've really kind of opened that up to more. Our store was very hardcore barbecue. We've kind of tried to spin it a little bit. There's still a ton of barbecue options. That hasn't changed. But since we've had more space, we've added Yeti and Turtle Box and different things to make it more of a lifestyle and kind of outdoor store, which has started to be a little bit of fun.
Oh, cool.
And we've got a classroom and content center. Another thing we've really liked is taking that when we're not using it for classes or content and turning it more into a community room, a reasonably priced room where people can come, do small events, do those type of things. We've noticed, even though we've been in the community for 10 years, I've grown up here my whole life, we're still seeing like 30% of people that come attend events at that community room that knew nothing about us, so that's amazing. We've got the Old Boy podcast studio there. And then the one huge step we made this past December is we started manufacturing our own seasonings. And to me, that's been a goal we've always had. I come from a manufacturing background where I just believe being as vertically integrated as possible and controlling as much of your process that you have your label on is key. So that's kind of what we've got in the building. And then while all that was going on, I didn't think I had enough going on. So we started a Old Boy podcast. So the Old Boy apparel line is a partnership that started originally between myself and Tim Montana. Tim's an awesome musician, really doing well on the rock scene right now. He's got a new album coming. It'll probably drop by the time you guys hear this, but July 12th, if you can help out my old boy. Okay. He's got a new album dropping. It's really awesome. So we started this, the Old Boy, just based off kind of a joke. We use the term a lot. And so we had a buddy of ours call us several years back, and he would say, my wife's not going to let me hang out with you guys anymore because after being with you all for a weekend, I just come home and every other word's old boy. He's like, I'm even calling my wife old boy. Like, we got a problem here. And so we were just joking about it. And Tim and I got to talking. We're like, hey, man, why don't we start this apparel line? It won't cost much. It'll be kind of funny. And he's busy. He's got 4 kids and a wife and a music career. And I'm running the roads. And so we really were ambitious. We made 1 shirt and 1 hat. They sold out. And we were like, oh, yeah, we'll get around to designing some more. And then we just really didn't do much with it. Got approached by a company called Trollco, which if you've ever seen support blue collar, dirty hands, clean money, very blue collar based brand out of Canada. They reached out, and Tim and I thought they were reaching out to just talk about maybe being influencers for them because they really line up with kind of who we are and how we live our life. And yeah, we talked about that. And at the very end, I think we got to why they wanted to have the meeting. And they're like, so what are you guys doing with this Old Boy brand of yours? We're like, man, we ain't got time. Like, we would love to partner with somebody that's like in the apparel business. And they're like, well, what about us? And so, we obviously did some vetting and filling each other out. And it's been an awesome partnership. And then they were the ones that said, hey, what do you think about us starting up a podcast? And I've always loved podcasting. I was kind of podcasting before podcasting was cool back, early teens on some really sketchy platforms. And it was a Tuesday night barbecue show where I would just bring in my competition buddies, Myron Mixon and Rub Bagby and, all these guys from all over the country. And we would just talk competition barbecue. So getting back to it was something I wanted to do, but I didn't because barbecue so much of my life, I didn't want it to be a barbecue podcast. That's just like more on top of more.
Yeah.
But one thing I do love about what we do at Old Boy, and just what I believe in personally, and the way I was raised, is the blue collar trades. And I feel like barbecue is definitely a very blue collar trade. But I think we have a huge problem in this world right now where we're seeing, welders, for every 7 welders that retire right now, we're replacing them with 2.
Yeah.
You have the same problem in plumbing, electrician, HVAC, all these things that we all need, but we all kind of grew up in this era where if you didn't go to college, you were going to, find yourself under a bridge with maybe a needle hanging out of your arm, which isn't true. You know what I mean? But we grew up with that stigma, and I think we pushed so many people away from the trades. But I will tell you, some of my closest friends have stayed true to the trades, and they're some of the most successful people I know.
Mm-hmm.
Love that. And again, you talk to so many different kinds of people, the blue collar folks, and I think you've had rodeo stars on there. You've had you've had people in the trades. You have barbecue people as well. I mean, it's wide ranging, but within kind of the niche of like you said, this blue collar world, people who are kind of get their hands dirty. So I think that's super admirable.
Well, and I love it too, because I feel like there's so many in the blue collar world. There's so many authentic brand building stories. Not, hey, we came up with an idea and we hired, some top tier marketing firm out of New York City to blow this brand up. And no, this is like people that were getting up every day and putting their jeans and their boots on and going to work, and they saw this opportunity. So they expanded their business here. And when they got into that business, they saw this opportunity. So they decided to invest here. You know what I mean? Like just that real grassroots, like building something and marketing it on the fly, being nimble. And that's what, tradesmen have to do on a daily.
Yeah. A lot of them are it's very similar to you, being very entrepreneurial. I mean, they have to be, because a lot of them have their own businesses as a part of this too. So I think that's again, super admirable work. And it feels a little bit like you're coming for our jobs over here on the podcast, but we're not too worried about it. So
hey, there's plenty for us to eat, guys.
Absolutely. So, I do my internet creeping, and since we last talked, I need to ask you about a couple things. First off, I saw you were alligator hunting. Why would you do this? Just at all. And then I thought that this was super sweet too. You officiated your parents' 50th anniversary renewal ceremony. So that had to be a pretty special day. Man,
that's I'm going to see if I can transition that topic smoothly. My parents' renewal. But no, so down here in Florida, I mean, we do have a really huge alligator problem. And I just happen to be friends with one of the guys that helps the state control the gator population. And it's not just the population, it's the size too, because a lot of them, obviously we have a lot of alligators in the Everglades, but you also have a lot of alligators. We're responsible for a lot of cane sugar in the state of Florida. And you have these huge cane fields, and they have these really, really deep, because it takes so much water to cultivate cane sugar. They have these huge ditches, so it catches all the runoff and also catches all the watering of the sugar, but gators love it. So you just go out there. You usually take some folks from the north that think it's kind of cool to go gator hunting, and you go out, and usually the ones, for anybody listening, booking a gator hunt, everybody likes to kill the big gators, the 10, 11, 12 footers. They're out there. They're going to be fine with it because they're older, more aggressive. But they do not make the best boots or belts.
Oh, interesting.
If you're looking for a nice pair of alligator boots or belts from your harvest, you want to get something around the 7 to 8 foot, because kind of the pattern is perfect for. But yeah, it's fun. You go out there, and usually I'm not wrestling them. Those days are over at 47. I'll leave that to the younger bucks. But no, we do it very humanely, and gator's great too. A lot of people always say the tail is the best, and the tail is delicious, but I think the cheek meat is even better, which you'll find on most animals. Like beef cheeks are really good, alligator cheeks are really good. And then I'm not going to transition that smoothly but I think several years ago I had some friends that were thinking about getting married. They decided not to, but they wanted me to marry them, so I went ahead and just got ordained.
Okay.
And then Julie's son was getting married. They got married on Valentine's Day, and that was the first wedding I officiated, and I cooked.
Oh,
So I
wow.
always say it's kind of a nuptials and 2 brisket package that I offer, you know. And it was so much fun, and it was so cute because his fiance really wanted a white wedding, and you shouldn't get a foot and a half of snow in mid-February outside of Seattle, but we did.
Oh my
So
god.
it made it really hard for people to get to and from the wedding because it's actually right on the Puget Sound, so have a lot of steep driveways, etc. But
Sure, yeah.
we made it through the snow, and she got her white wedding. And then that led to when my parents wanted to do their vow renewal. They were like, well, why don't you do the ceremony? And it was so cool. I mean, I tell people all the time I won the parents' lottery. I mean, obviously they're still together after 50 years, but
Yeah.
my parents always put myself and my sister first. And we didn't come from much, but they made sure that we got all of what we came from. And they just always sacrificed. And, for me, it was pretty simple to want to do that. And it was really, really special. I really enjoy it. You can tell by the smile I get from talking about it.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Me too. So on top of everything, you're still smoking. You're grilling up a storm with Traeger, including a video series with Justin Herbert, Ken Griffey Jr. I feel like if there was a Mount Rushmore of your barbecue adventures, maybe this would be on it too. You were grilling at ESPN College Game Day. So I know that your adventures in barbecue are still going. Before we jumped on mic, you were talking about going down bill fishing and cooking big blue marlin, and you're just traveling and grilling and cooking up a storm all the time. So I'm super impressed with it, and I wonder if you can kind of speak to just in general how barbecue has been for you the last few years.
Yeah, when you say it like that, 2023 was a pretty good year. And I keep saying 2024 is going to be my best year, and it feels like it's shaping up to be. But first, I'm very fortunate to get to do what I love every day with a brand that I've helped build and I love also, and I have so much respect for. So none of this gets lost on me, especially like when you bring up the Griffey Jr. part. Like, that was my guy as a kid. Like, I just admired him, idolized him. Like, I liked the swagger, but he could also back it up and just seemed like such a kind soul. And delivered a grill to him years ago. And kind of always with the VIP deliveries, you kind of never know what you're going to get. So I give myself a 1 hour time limit. So I try to already have the grill built and burnt in, and I try to have the food already prepped. So get there, me and the guy will get the grill set up. We'll get the food out, usually pre-seasoned. So literally as soon as the trigger gets to temp, I can throw something on it. I want to be in and out in an hour. And like first 20 minutes, Ken's like, dude, what? Like after it, he's like, 20 minutes went by. He's like, man, why are you in such a hurry? I'm like, well, dude, I was like, man, I just don't want to take up too much of your time. I like to be cognizant of that. I was like, I plan on being here an hour. He's like, well, I plan on you being here all damn day.
Oh.
He's like, I'm retired. He's like, I'm retired. I got the Traeger guy right here in my house.
Yeah.
He's like, unless you got somewhere to be. I was like, buddy, if I had somewhere to be, it's canceled. Nobody at work can get mad at me about this. Nobody in my life can get mad at me about this. Like, if you want to hang, we're gonna hang. And it just turned into this really cool friendship. And
wow.
He came out to. I was able to get him and his wife Melissa, which absolute sweetheart. When he moved to the pros in Seattle at 19, he met her in a teen club, and they've been together ever since. 3 beautiful kids, 2 boys, a girl. All 3 obviously super athletic, amazing family, great people. But yeah, him and Melissa came out to our Timberline launch, which I think extended my employment with Traeger by at least a year. They thought that was the coolest thing ever. And so he did that with us. And then we've just hung. I mean, he lives 45 minutes from us, so we've done a lot of cool stuff together. He loves to golf, cook for his golf buddies. And so when this came up, we were talking with Louisville about collabing. And they kind of threw some names out, and it was funny. My boss, Yalmar, goes, well, I mean, I think my guy can get Griffey. And the guys at Louisville are like, you got a guy that can get Griffey Jr. to be a part of this collab? Yeah, man, like him and Chad like golf, and they're buddies. Like, I think he can. So I called Ken up, and I'm like, hey, man, we're doing this collab with Louisville, and I'd like to work with you on it. And he goes, does it mean I get to cook with you? I was like, yeah. He's like, are we going to video it? Like, let people see it? I was like, yeah. He's like, I'm in.
Oh,
I was like, well, what do you want? And he's like, just spend the day with you.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, dude, what a guy. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And Justin's a lot of the same dude. I got to meet Justin. If y'all remember that 2020 NFL draft, because of COVID, they couldn't do New York City, right? So everybody's getting drafted from their house.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so, as I've done many times in my career, I always try to find a way to make sure we can get the brand somewhere that we should be paying a lot more to put it.
Mm-hmm.
So the NFL had came out and said, well, if there's any brands on display during the draft, it costs $1. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. So me and Justin talked, and Justin's like, look, if you can get me a grill, he loves the brand because he grew up on it. He's an Oregon boy. So seeing that the brand came from there, his grandpa fed him as a kid off Traegers.
No.
So he loved the brand from Jump Street. So we get him a grill, we got him some meat. And so while he's getting selected, his dad's manning the grill, which was kind of cool. So we got a little bit of a brand pop in that. But we just kept going back and forth. And a lot of times with these celebrities and athletes, I'm not going to say we don't want to pay the money, Traeger. I personally would like to see us spend resources elsewhere than going, we're sponsoring this music tour or we're sponsoring this. Like, no, what can we do for these people to really help them out? So like with Justin, we do his charity events every year. You know, we'll go out and cook, and he feels very appreciative for that. So when we ask things like, hey, we want to do a couple tailgating videos, you know, are you in? He was all for it. And I mean, this is a guy, we filmed those. That's Justin Herbert's house.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm like, hey man, we're going to rent an Airbnb and this and that. And he's like, dude, why don't we just do it at my place? I got a pretty sick backyard. And I'm like, you sure do? Like, he's like, I mean, Chad, he's like, y'all always go live. He's like, you're not talking about like bringing like 10 cameras or nothing, right? I was like, no, it's like 2 camera shoot, like always. He's like, yeah, dude, let's just do it here. It makes it easier on us. But just that kind of guy. And so we get done shooting the videos, and I was like, Justin, man, what can we do for you? Anything? He's like, well, he goes, and mind you, we've been all day together. He goes, you think Traeger make a $5,000 donation to my high school bass club? They're trying to go to this tournament, and I think it'd really help.
Oh,
and I'm like, you know what? I bet we can get that. You got to ACH for that. I think we can probably get that to the next 24 hours. But like, let's go. But just finding those guys that truly love the brand, that have a connection with the brand, are authentic to the brand, and they may just be really awesome athletes too. But to me, to get to cook with those guys, and those guys enjoying cooking with me and enjoying me sharing knowledge with them, like that's so humbling and so amazing. I really enjoy it.
How special. Yeah.
Yes. It's fun because it's, you know, I always feel like I'm not a transactional person. I'm a relationship person. And I believe when you invest in relationships, you get a lifetime ROI. And it's genuine investment. The people that I do invest with, I enjoy spending time with. And, you know, the more I've kind of started to live I live my life more that way than I used to. And I find myself much more at peace and much happier. Just taking that time and investing it in folks and leaving people with a memory and making them always want to come back and do more and have more great memories together.
Well, I think that's a perfect sentiment to have just in life in general. So
I agree.
Gosh, we're hitting the gooey parts of the interview like very early.
Barbecue guys have feelings too, y'all.
So, Chad, I do want to talk recipes because it's summertime. People are definitely grilling, and we want to help inspire them with good cooks. And I know that you've had some good ones. We were talking about those video series. There were some great looking dishes out of all of those video series. Yeah. You had buffalo chicken bombs. You had game day ribs. You have game day brisket. You've got wings, Philly cheesesteak, surf and turf. I'm curious though. I don't know if we asked this last time. What's your all-time favorite barbecue recipe and why?
You know, for me, it's brisket. I feel like if you don't like brisket, you've either never had good brisket or you're vegan, and either one of those two can't count.
I'm with you. I love brisket.
I mean, Janet, worst case, at the end of the day, we can give them some of that jackfruit, but I would really prefer to have brisket. But no, I just love brisket. I think it's for most would say, like in the competition world, it's the hardest one to master. Okay. And for me, I don't know if it was dumb luck or just stubbornness. It was the one category that I did best at first. So like my first place was in brisket. My first perfect score was in brisket. And I don't know why. I think it's just because, one, I really liked it. So I kind of wanted it to be perfect. Like I tell people all the time, when I started Comp Barbecue, I was 165 pounds, and you got to eat some mistakes to get better. And I ate a lot of brisket mistakes. but I wasn't against it. And I love brisket too because it's so versatile, right? Like you have it as a middle of the dish, the night of a barbecue, but then hopefully you have some leftovers the next day. Or if you're strategic, you only put out like 2/3 of the brisket, you leave like a third hunk back for the next day. And then, I mean, think of all the things you can do with it: slice it and dice it for sandwiches, empanadas, quesadillas,
tacos.
Yeah. Good brisket taco. I mean, there's nothing wrong with. And I will tell you, if you do that, my friends at the W Sauce, they make what they call the breakfast sauce too. It's like a salsa verde. It's like a green sauce.
Oh, okay.
Heat up some brisket with that in a pan, chopped up brisket. About halfway through, add that breakfast sauce too.
Okay.
Toast your tortillas, and then if you want to do it for breakfast, a little bit of egg and a little bit of crema. If you want to do it more as a dinner type thing, leave the eggs out. So we've got the brisket, the green sauce, a little bit of pickled onion, and then a bit of cojita cheese, and that is like such a good day after brisket. I love that.
Oh yes.
Why is Chad?
And you're going to ask me about
That's what I want to know.
And while we'll get into it in more detail, we're going to talk about the Traeger Flat Rock in a bit. That is an amazing flat rock dish.
Yeah.
You can do that all on the flat rock. Really, really, really simple.
Okay. All right. Yes, I'm excited to talk all of the Traeger updates, all the different gadgets, and there's so many trends that we can jump into. But
one more thing on the like summer menu planning for outside.
Yeah.
Something I've tried to get better about, because for so many years, you're just the barbecue guy, so everything's like heavy, right? Like it's all protein rich. Try to have at least one side dish that's got a cooler aspect to it.
Okay.
That and also some acid to help break through all that richness. And the one that we've really been enjoying a lot of is the Mexican street corn salad, because you can make it the night before and let it set, and it gets nice and cold. But you've got it's pretty much elotes, but just in a salad form. And then one of the things Julie taught me about that I love is to take chili cheese Fritos right before you serve it and crush them up real fine, and then go over the top of that Mexican street corn salad, and it gives you a nice little crunch aspect.
Why would you not?
I know, that sounds amazing.
That sounds amazing.
I like that. Okay, so we've got a main dish and the brisket. We've got the elote salad mix that we've got going with the chili Fritos all crunched up, looking good. Okay, so I'm feeling pretty good about some of the summer dishes that you've got going on. Is there like a more challenging barbecue dish that you've ever attempted, or maybe what's the most challenging one that you have attempted, and how did it go?
I think, if I can name drop for a second.
Oh,
please.
You have to.
The first time I cooked Axis deer, backstrap, and wild turkey was for Kid Rock.
Oh my gosh.
And I had my Traeger, thank goodness. But I had never cooked it, and we were at his, cabin, his triple wide in Alabama, and didn't have really good cell service. So I'm like, okay, I'm looking at this Axis deer, and venison's already very lean. Axis is very active. So Axis is like straight red. Like there is no white marbling. So I'm kind of looking at it, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to cook it to, I would usually cook a beef tenderloin to 128. I'm going to cook this to 123 and see what happens.
Yeah.
Turkey breast, instead of going to 165 like you would domestic, I went to 155. I did reverse sear on the Axis tenderloin. I was nervous as hell, let everything rest, sliced it up, took it to Bobby and his family, and it's hard calling a 50-plus-year-old man kid, so it was really Bob Richard. Took it, and I'm like, and man, it's like the jury's out, right? Like they're over there eating. I walked back to my little grill space because that's what you do. And about 10 minutes later, he walked over and he's like, dude, how long you been cooking wild game? I'm like, about 2.5 hours. He's like, no way. I was like, I've cooked some wild game, but obviously not this wild game. And he's like, dude, it's the best I've ever had. And now every time we go somewhere, like we go to a duck camp together, And he's always like, you got to have Chad's food. Hold up. I'm like, all right, if Bobby's going to be there, I got to make 2 times as much food. So he's going to make everybody try at least one of everything. But yeah, that was probably the most nervous I was. And man, wild game, I will say, without trying to sound like a sales guy, cooking wild game on a Traeger is completely different than cooking it any other way. That convection cooking that you get with pellet grilling is so friendly to lean wild game meat. And I feel like when outdoor folk, and that's one thing I always tell guys, like, look at how much money you've invested in your hunt. And now we're going to take this thing, throw a little salt and pepper on it, and slap it on a whole $89 hunk of junk gas grill that's just going to, char it up on the outside and not get it done on the inside. Come on, let's work here.
Yeah. That's a good way to kind of think about it too, because the amount of time, energy, and like you said, money that people are spending on hunting like that.
Yeah.
It's totally worth investing in this final push here at the end to cook it the right way. So I like
you went to all that work to hopefully, besides putting a mount on your wall, enjoy that with friends and family. Like, don't trip in the final mile of the marathon.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Good metaphor.
I'm here to save you if you do. We can get you ready.
Okay, so Chad, let's say you're going to host a big family gathering. Maybe it's a 50th wedding anniversary vow renewal. I don't know. Can you tell us, like, what would your go-to main dish be? Side dish, dessert? What do you got on that menu?
Yeah, so I feel like something like that, we got to church it up a little bit. So I would probably go with beef tenderloin with a creamy horseradish sauce. Probably serve a fish to go along with it, maybe a white fish, grouper if we can. I love and with fish, being a Florida boy, I keep it so simple: butter, seasoning. I try not to get too crazy. With salmon, something like a heartier fish, you can play with some different glazes or this and that. But I think if you're having a beef tenderloin, going right next to it with just a nice like buttered grouper would be awesome. I'm a charred Brussels sprouts. I grew up on those terrible boiled Brussels sprouts. But man, when I came to Traeger and I learned this whole charring them and adding pancetta and balsamic glaze and dried cranberries and that kind of stuff, it can just really be such a good side dish. And that's my mom's favorite. My mom's favorite Brussels, and I would have to make them for, is charred feta, dried cranberries, balsamic glaze, pancetta.
Yeah,
so
great.
Yeah, and a little red onion that you cook down in it too. That would be a side, and then you always got to have a good potato side. Julie makes a pretty amazing smoked potato salad that's really, really good. And the thing I like about it is you can dress it up and it can be at a nice dinner, or you can dress it down and have it at your barbecue. You know what I mean? It can play up or down. And then dessert wise, I'm an old boy and you just kind of always fall back on a cobbler or a bread pudding, one of the two. Maybe a bourbon bread pudding is probably the route I would go. Which next year, Janet, that's what we're doing. Not the bourbon, but we are going to do a bread pudding for the Berkshire Hathaway next year.
I love that.
I just, the way it sits for that long, I don't like the way that cobbler just gets a little too slurry-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry, Daddy's always looking. We're going to get it.
I love that. I love that you're thinking ahead.
I already talked to the culinary team about it. They can prep it for us, the whole 9 yards. But not to get on a tangent, but we got on one. But it was
love that.
Well, I know that we've been talking recipes, which I love. I want to get into a little bit of like some tips and tricks. It's summertime, but fall, winter is right around the corner, and grilling, even though it's, we think about it like mostly in the summertime, it's still like an all around kind of thing. You can do it all year long. And I wonder if you have any advice for folks that are looking to extend their grilling life into the fall and winter. Where would you how would you advise those folks?
Yeah, no, I think as long as you prepare, you can, a lot of people will kind of stop grilling as much because of the elements and this and that. But, obviously with a Traeger, I feel like you're not having to monitor the temperature as much. You're not having to go out and feed it anything. So if you really plan correctly and to sound fancy, have everything mise en place, which is simply just all prepped
That is
before you're going to
fancy.
throw it on.
I like that word
Yeah.
though. Yeah.
Yeah, I hang around chefs every now and then. I'll pick up one or two fancy words, make myself sound a little more credible. But no, like if you have everything together and literally you're just going out there and remember, I mean, you can monitor everything pretty much on almost all the grills now from your phone. So I mean,
Yeah.
the Traeger app. So to me, if you have everything well organized and you're really making your trips out to the Traeger count, you can grill throughout the year. Now, I don't live in the Dakotas or anywhere in that region and have none of the winters that you guys have. But I feel like if you really enjoy it enough, you can. I mean, we've had guys like, we had a guy up in Canada, Fridge Man, on Instagram. That fella, he cooked 1,000 days straight on a Traeger.
Wow.
Like he was throwing a tailgater in his truck when he was going on like 5 and 6 hour work trips and cooking in the hotel parking lot. So if he lives in Canada and he found a way to cook 1,000 days straight, anybody can.
Yep.
Chad, what about a turkey on a Traeger? Is that a thing?
Oh, Janet, you shouldn't be talking that sweet to me this early. No, I always say a spatchcocked turkey on the Traeger, I don't think you ever go back. And one of the things I really like about the spatchcocking it is, if you think about a Traeger, it cooks with convection, right? So you have that barrel, and it will be a little bit hotter in the front and in the back. Well, when you spatchcock that bird and you lay it out, guess what's by the front and the back? The dark meat, right?
Oh, sure.
That little bit of extra heat from where that convection is always ripping around allows that dark meat to cook quicker than the white meat. So usually when your breast is at about 160, 162, which is when I like to pull a turkey, because the radiant heat from the bones is going to cook at that extra 3 to 5 degrees, your dark meat is usually around 175 to 180, which is exactly where you want dark meat. So it breaks down all those ligaments and tendons and gives you that nice bite.
Can you tell everybody what spatchcocking is? I know, but maybe other people don't.
Yeah. So spatchcocking is, one, the coolest word in barbecue.
Ever.
And two, it is when you simply cut the backbone out of a piece of poultry. Okay. And when you do that, it'll want to almost try to bend, but it won't. And if you look straight down, you'll see the breastbone. And there's a little xiphoid process there. If you just take your knife and gently tap it and push down, it'll slide, to pop all the way out, flip it over, season it. And then what I'll usually do is tuck the legs and then put it legs front, body, wings.
It's pretty cool.
We're getting some good tips.
There's a couple Traeger videos
also,
out there
xiphoid process is a fun word too. I know we are all like excited about spatchcocking, but I think xiphoid process.
We need like a crossword puzzle.
Yeah.
Made off of Chad's
a barbecue crossword.
Yeah, exactly.
Mise en place. I mean, the whole thing. All right. I'm feeling really good about it. One of the big tips that you called out for us the last time that we were together was just kind of about your approach. You talked about creating a consistent and non-offensive flavor profile, the proper tenderness and temperature of the meat, and the presentation. Has your personal grilling style or approach evolved over the last couple of years? Or are you kind of still doing the same kind of thing?
Still kind of doing a lot of the same thing. I mean, I'm still a temperature is king kind of guy. Just every animal's lived a different life. And internal temperature is going to tell you that piece of meat is ready to consume. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would say the one thing that's changed over the couple of years is I'm doing more griddling than I was earlier in my career, obviously because Traeger has expanded and introduced the flat rock griddle. So that's been fun. Not to say I ever was getting burnt out on smoking and grilling, but to now have another vehicle or medium to take smoked brisket and turn it into, griddled omelets or the griddled tacos we were just talking about.
Yeah.
Those type of things, to really kind of think about that as another preparation that I have for, a dish. I like that.
Yeah. Well, let's dig in a little bit more. I mean, since we're talking trends, Traegers, like we haven't had you on for many years, and there has been a lot of developments. The griddle, I think, has been like one of the probably one of the biggest ones that we've seen over the last year or so. But I'm curious if there are any huge innovations at Traeger that you've been excited about, that you have like really dug into. The griddle, we've got that piece of it. I mean, we can dig into that a little bit more, but anything else that you've seen over the last probably 3 or 4 years from Traeger that you think have just blown people away?
Yeah, so just to finish on the Flat Rock, I will say I think, we did a lot of consumer research, which made us a little later to market with a griddle, but I'm kind of glad we did it that way, to be honest. The market didn't need another marginal griddle. The market needed a griddle killer, like something that was really thought through. And so for me, 3 things we did that I thought were very, very key is you cannot flame out the Traeger Flat Rock. The way that the chassis is, so if you think about it, you have a full cooking surface that comes completely out of a chassis. And that chassis is protected all the way around that wind cannot come in. The way we keep it cool is if you look around the front and back of the whole grill is small little holes where that heat can escape.
Okay.
But it's a one-way, right? It's heat out, no air in. That, and then the way that we designed the burners and the chassis, you truly have 3-zone cooking. Like I can put this on low, medium, and high, fill it with tortillas, give it 45 seconds, flip them over, and you can tell me which ones were in low, medium, and high. And the other part of it is it's just built well. When you go to close the lid of this, you don't have to hold the leg. Like you can close the lid and not worry about the thing buckling on you. And for us, being a tier 1 brand and always trying to put quality into workmanship and everything we did, we wanted to make sure we addressed all those concerns. And I think in talking to, plenty of Flat Rock owners, they've been really, really, our biggest challenge has been making enough of them, honestly. Other innovations have been the Ironwood XL has been new since we last talked. I love that grill. Similar to the Timberline build, doesn't have the induction burner and a couple other features. But if you're looking for a lower price point, but having almost all the latest and greatest technology, it's the Ironwood XL. And then a couple of things that I feel like we've just done to add to the user experience. One, the content. We've gotten back on more of I feel like when COVID happened, the way people were consuming content obviously changed why people were locked up in their homes. But then because of that, the way people were consuming content and producing content changed pretty dramatically if you look at like 2019 to 2023. So I feel like we kept up with it, but now we've gotten more into very tactical plans of what content we're going to release. And also, frankly, it was hard because we were between offices during COVID. So we had a very nice office in Sugar House towards the beginning of COVID. That lease was up, and we were building the very, very nice new corporate office in downtown Salt Lake. So we were in this transitional office. So you just couldn't do like numerous times we can and say, hey, tomorrow we're going to the culinary kitchen, we're shooting 4 videos.
Nice.
So now that we've got, in this new office, when you guys, I'm sure Janet, have you been out there yet, Janet?
I have not been out there yet.
All right, we got to get you out there.
Yeah, for sure.
Preferably when Chad Ward's doing a class.
Absolutely.
You know what? When we find out when y'all are coming out, Chad Ward make us come out and do a class.
Perfect. I'll have my people call your people, Chad.
Yeah, exactly. But it's really cool. We have 3 different kitchens there that can be staggered to shoot.
Oh, wow.
So you can literally be shooting on this side of the kitchen, let them clean up that side, go to the other side, and it's already ready for you to do another video.
Oh, yeah,
cool.
So cool.
I know we are really, our content plan is really strong. And I feel like that's one place we've always won, is the amount of recipes we provide our community, the amount of inspiration we do through social media, and continually working on the app. I feel like those are all things, while they're not new products, big, I feel like they're things we were doing well, and we're doing even better now.
Yeah. I mean, I think we've seen it definitely in the work that's come out. Like you said, the craftsmanship, the attention to detail, all that kind of stuff. And I think that is seen obviously in the content that's produced as well. Yeah. So huge. And one more, if we have a quick second that we, and I don't think we got to talk about in our first interview, but obviously is a big part of the Traeger family. And
it's really great in helping do what I do, which is make people better cooks, and that's meter. The meter probe has been a great acquisition that we made, and then bringing them into the Traeger family. I love it because it's the way for our brand to touch people, maybe if they haven't bought a Traeger yet. You know what I mean?
Smart.
Yeah, it's like dip your toe in if you're not familiar.
Yeah. And what I love about it is, you can use it in your oven. You can use the meter in any cooking device, especially the new Meter 2. I want to say the new Meter 2, like 912 degrees is the threshold.
Yeah, that's insane.
I don't know that I want to be anywhere around 912 degrees. So I don't expect my thermometer to either.
Yeah.
But for anybody that doesn't know about the meter, go check out the website. It's really cool. What I love about it is, you guys have always heard me preach about cooking to temperature instead of time. Well, meter kind of merges those. Like you can be 30 minutes into a brisket cook, and it's going to do predictive logic to tell you, based on the size, the way that this brisket is taking on temp, it's going to be done in 6 hours and 52 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. And we do carry the meter here, just so you know.
Just so you know.
At
Janet,
NFM.
Janet, you don't think I'd throw you that softball up if you couldn't knock it out of the park? Come on.
Thanks, Chad. Can I just steal 2 seconds from Chad? And can you just tell everybody what you thought of the Berkshire Hathaway event? You've done 2 now.
The Berkshire Hathaway event, the first year we did it, I was amazed that many people to get them fed. I thought it was just such a huge undertaking, and we did it. Man, Janet, this past year, it was almost, but we did it pretty easily.
Easily, yeah.
We were so organized. We were ahead of the game. We even started dinner service 30 minutes early.
Wow.
But the people, oh my gosh, we just kept looking back at the line, and I'm like, Janet, when's it going to stop? Well, there's that slippery slope of, okay, we're not going to have enough food. Like,
yes,
where do we cut the line off at? And y'all have some hotshot people counter person that looked and said, right there.
Yep, cut it off.
Tell you they were within 10 people.
Yep.
That's pretty good.
Yep.
Like, we literally had like that much pulled pork left, which we gave to the cops. They deserved it.
Yes.
And that was like it on fresh stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Crazy. No, it was an amazing event. And everybody has such a good time. And y'all's team is so awesome. And then one other shout out I got to give is, I'm going to have to name drop one more time. I had a buddy of mine, Jelly Roll, coming through town, and they wanted 2 Traegers to finish up their tour. My good buddy, Jonathan Dale, I reached out to him, and he said, I bet Miss Janet would help you out. Let's see what we can do. And Janet helped us out, let us get some grills. We were able to replenish her some grills. But thank you very much, Janet, for helping us out. That makes it aware when I have to call in a favor with Jelly Roll. He goes, oh, man, I remember what you did. So if you ever need a favor, Janet,
Jelly Roll's a good guy.
Yeah. And it was
Very
our
good
pleasure
guy.
to help out. Absolutely.
What a good favor to have in your
Right?
pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feels like you have a few of those.
Yeah.
Becca, do you want to wrap us up with this final question?
Yeah, just okay, really quick. This was last time we talked, you had got your childhood home from your parents and you were remodeling it. You talked about a kitchen, a big kitchen, a pool, a Florida room. We're just wondering if you can give us a quick update. Are you still there? Is the remodel done? What's going on with that?
I'm still here, and we're actually here right now.
Okay.
Love it.
I've kind of not done good on the remodel. I've been a little too busy with barbecue, and it's actually one of the things. I just took a couple days off to just kind of do some things around the house and this and that. And that was one of the things. I was like, all right, the summer's pretty grueling, but October right now, I always say October and November aren't going to be easy or aren't going to be hard. Then I totally forget it's football season.
Right.
But I do want to get it back on track. Windows should be going in the next 2 weeks, which will be big.
Okay.
And then that'll let me, I think the Florida room I can have done by fall, which would be nice. And then the windows, and then the pool, I think I'm going to try to do. I've probably been doing too much research on that, but I feel like there's some cool pool concepts without paying the ridiculous amount of an in-ground pool right now. So I keep like going back and forth, like looking at container pools or different, something that would be different too, you know?
Mm-hmm. Very cool.
Okay.
So,
all right.
I mean, it's just for me to go cool off in. I don't have any kids, so it doesn't have to be super, super functional. Just something fun to cool off and hang out and
take a dip.
Place to grill by and drink some cocktails.
There you go. Maybe I'll go there instead of Salt Lake.
There you go. All right. That'll make me expedite the remodel, Janet. I like it. Motivation.
Help me help you.
Yes.
Well, Chad, any final words of wisdom, anything that you want to leave people with?
No, I mean, you know, to me, there's so many resources out there. You know, you can go to Traeger. We've got, you know, over 1,000 recipes, plenty of YouTubes out there, but then just other people in the barbecue community too. I mean, we work with my buddy Matt Pittman at Meat Church. I mentioned Malcolm Reed earlier. There's so many great resources out there. Don't be afraid to go cook something. You know what I mean? And continuously challenge yourself. And guess what, man? If it doesn't work out, there's always Uber Eats. Nobody's going to go hungry. You know, but just get out there, cook, have a good time. The other thing is try to get as much stuff done ahead of time as possible. Yeah. I hate when people go to all this time and financial commitment and a commitment of their day to have their friends and family over, and they look like they're out there with a Chinese fire drill for 3 hours. You know what I mean? Like it's just,
we know what you mean.
We do.
Yeah. So get your stuff together, plan a menu where you can have some stuff done the night before, like the Mexican street corn salad. If you do that, reserve back some of the dressing for the next day to toss it with before you serve it.
Okay.
But get things done that you can get done the day and the night before. And always remember, you've got, you know, almost everybody out there now owns an insulated cooler of some brand, and we all have unlit ovens. So if the protein gets done early, not the end of the world. Pull it off, let it rest, put it in a dry cooler, put some towels over it, put it in an unlit oven just to hold that heat in. But being done early is a lot better than chasing.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Great advice. Okay, well, Chad, thank you again for being here. Any place that you want to direct people for updates about you or for Traeger grills?
Yeah. So for me, everything's Whiskey Bent BBQ or Old Boy Podcast or Old Boy Apparel. You can check out everything going on with me there. And then on the Traeger side, it's Traeger.com or any of the Traeger socials. So just keep an eye out. We're always on both ends trying to update as much as possible, as often as possible. And thank you guys so much. You know, Nebraska Furniture Mart is Miss Janet calls. I will always do whatever I can to be a part of it. Love you guys. And when we get there, like the support, like your team, y'all are just such good, wholesome, hardworking folks, just focused on making sure everybody has a great experience. And those are the kind of brands and people I like working with. So that's why I'll always be available anytime you guys need me.
Thank you, Chad. That means a lot.
Yeah,
for
feelings
sure.
100% mutual.
Right.
Thanks again. I want to thank everyone who's listening at home and encourage you to go to nfm.com to learn more about our company and shop 24/7 for today's top furnishing styles. We'll be back again soon with another episode. Until then, remember, home is what you make it.
Thanks for joining us today for I Am Home with Tyler Weisskopf, Hillary Woltemath, and Becca Sudbeck. No one knows home quite like NFM. So if you'd like more information on home design at NFM, please check out nfm.com and leave us a review on the podcast platform of your choice.